जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जना यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जना यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जना यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी जय कृष्ण रुक्मिणी जय सत्यभामा कृष्ण रुक्मिणी जय सत्यभामा जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकचर्यष्टोत्तर शतश्री श्रीमद डिवाइन ग्रेस एसी भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकचर्यष्टोत्तर शतश्री श्रीमद डिवाइन ग्रेस श्रील भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद्भागवतम की जय। श्री श्री कृष्ण रुक्मिणी सत्यभामा की जय। श्री श्री गौरनिताय की जय। जगद्गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Reading from Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 5, Narada's instructions on Srimad-Bhagavatam, text number 30. Jnanam guhyatamam yat tat. Jnanam guhyatamam yat tat. Jnanam guhyatamam yat tat. Sakshat Bhagavata उदितं साक्षात् भगवतोदितं साक्षात् भगवतोदितं अन्ववोचन् गमिष्यन्तः अन्ववोचन् गमिष्यन्तः अन्ववोचन् गमिष्यन्तः कृपया दीन वत्सलाः कृपया दीनवत्सलाः कृपया दीनवत्सलाः ज्ञानं गुह्यतमं यत् साक्षात् भगवतोदितम् अन्ववोचन् गमिष्यन्तः कृपया दीनवत्सलाः ज्ञानं गुह्यतमं यत् साक्षात् भगवतोदितम् अन्ववोचन् गमिष्यन्तः कृपया दीनवत्सलाः। Jnanam, knowledge, guhyatamam, most confidential, yat, what is, tat, that, sakshat, directly, bhagavata uditam, propounded by the Lord himself, anvavochan, gave instruction, Gamishyantaha, while departing from, Kripaya, by causeless mercy, Deenavatsalaha, those who are very kind to the poor and meek. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. As they were leaving, those Bhakti Vedantas who are very kind to poor-hearted souls instructed me in that most confidential subject which is instructed by the personality of Godhead Himself. Kindly repeat. As they were leaving, those Bhakti Vedantas who are very kind to poor-hearted souls instructed me in that most confidential subject which is instructed by the personality of Godhead Himself. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. A pure Vedantist or a Bhakti Vedanta instructs followers exactly according to the instructions of the Lord Himself. The personality of Godhead, both in the Bhagavad Gita and in all other scriptures, has definitely instructed men to follow the Lord only. The Lord is the creator, maintainer, and annihilator of everything. The whole manifested creation is existing by His will, and by His will, when the whole show is finished, He will remain in His eternal abode with all His paraphernalia. Before the creation, He was there in the eternal abode, and after the annihilation, He will continue to remain. He is not, therefore, one of the created beings. He is transcendental. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that long before the instruction was imparted to Arjuna, the same was instructed to the Sun God, and in due course of time, the same instruction, being wrongly handled and being broken, was again instructed to Arjuna because he was his perfect devotee and friend. Therefore, the instruction of the Lord can be understood by the devotees only and no one else. The impersonalist who has no idea of the transcendental form of the Lord cannot understand this most confidential message of the Lord. The word most confidential is significant here because knowledge of devotional service is far above knowledge of impersonal Brahman. Jnanam means ordinary knowledge or any branch of knowledge. This knowledge develops up to the knowledge of impersonal Brahman. Above this, when it is partially mixed with devotion, such knowledge develops to knowledge of Paramatma or the all-pervading Godhead. This is more confidential. But when such knowledge is turned into pure devotional service and the confidential part of transcendental knowledge is attained, it is called the most confidential knowledge. This most confidential knowledge was imparted by the Lord to Brahma, Arjuna, Uddhava, etc. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjanachalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namavo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Deenataranam. I happened to be going somewhere and I was passing by, I was traveling via OMR. All of you know OMR, right? OMR road, right here. While going on that OMR, after a little distance when we go from here, on the left side, new building is coming up. I noticed there is a big board also which is put up, which said some name they had put, and it mentioned multi-sports facility, something like that. And I could see that there is a new structure which is coming up, which is all like a shed with a very tall height, big height. It immediately reminded me of the recent disaster, fire disaster that had taken place in Rajkot. All of you must have heard about that. There was an entertainment zone, a place where children could go and play different kinds of games. And that structure was also like this only, one shed, made out of all the sheets, the light roof kind of material. And that entertainment zone was where all children would go to play and to enjoy themselves. Unfortunately, there was a fire there. Many people died, almost 30 people died, isn't it? Almost 30 people died, many of them children. Even the owner of that entertainment zone, one of the owners who had built that, the police, when they filed a complaint, he was also one of the accused. But when they recovered all the dead bodies, one of them happened to be the owner also. Even the owner who had built that, even he also died. Very unfortunate and tragic incident. Nobody would have expected. It's totally unexpected. I mean, people go to such places to enjoy themselves, to have a fun time, to relax, to relieve their stress, and for children also entertainment. And in such a place, there is a fire and so many people are killed. Anyway, in the Srimad-Bhagavatam, in the 10th canto, after Lord Krishna advented and he was transferred to Gokula by Vasudeva to protect him from Kamsa's persecution. Shri Krishna Rukmini Satyabhama ki jai. Vasudeva transferred Krishna out of fear that Kamsa would kill Krishna just like he had killed his earlier 6 sons. And so he transferred Krishna to Gokula and to the house of Nanda Maharaj. Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Mai, they were unaware of this and they were thinking that this child is theirs. About a year after Krishna advented, once it so happened that Gargamuni, the family priest of the Yadus, he came to Gokula. And when he came to Gokula, Nanda Maharaj was very happy. Oh, very great saintly person has come. Gargamuni has come. Gargacharya is a very highly renowned and great saint. And seeing him, Nanda Maharaj took the opportunity. He welcomed him very nicely. And after suitably taking care of him, Nanda Maharaj requested Gargamuni to name his son. The Namakarana ceremony is one of the samskaras that in Sanatana Dharma the children have to go through. And until then, Krishna had not been named. Nanda Maharaj saw that Gargamuni has come, a holy person has come, saint has come. If he can give a name, then if he can perform the Namakarana ceremony, it is a very fortunate thing. So he requested Gargamuni. Now Gargamuni had come there primarily for that only. But of course, Nanda Maharaj was unaware of that. At the same time, Gargamuni did not want that people should come to know about this, that Krishna is here. He therefore told Nanda Maharaj, let us not make a very big ceremony out of this. If we make a very big ceremony, news will reach Kamsa, who is in Mathura, which is very close to Gokula, hardly 30-40 kilometers. And then Kamsa is already looking for all children who are born within the 10 days of Krishna's appearance. Then he will know that this child is also born in the same time frame. He may come with his army and attack Gokula. So why bring about all such misfortunes? So very silently, very quietly, let us do. Nanda Maharaj also said, yes, what you are saying is true. He went to his Goshala And in the Goshala, without anybody, when nobody was there, because all the Gwalas, they had taken the cows and gone for grazing, daytime. The cow shed, the Goshala was empty. Nanda Maharaj got it cleaned up, and then there, with only immediate family members, Yashodamai, Nanda Maharaj, and maybe one or two their assistants, Gargamuni named Krishna and Balaram. And this incident is captured in the 10th canto of the Srimad-Bhagavatam. Now in this whole incident, when Nanda Maharaj received Gargamuni, how did he receive him? He received him with a few words of glorification, which is beautifully described in the Srimad-Bhagavatam. One of the things, the first thing that Nanda Maharaj told Gargamuni is, Mahad Vichalanam Nirunam Grihinam Dinachetasam Nishreyasaya Bhagavan Kalpate Nanyatha Kvachit. Nanda Maharaj said, Bhagavan, oh great personality, because in the Vedic tradition, not only the Supreme Personality of Godhead is referred to as Bhagavan, even somebody who is a great personality who has crossed over the ocean of birth and death, one who knows who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even such a personality is also referred to as Bhagavan. Therefore, Nanda Maharaj referred to Gargamuni, because he was a great saint, as Bhagavan. He said, Bhagavan, O great personality, Mahad Vichalanam Nirunam Grihinam Dina Chetasam. Nanda Maharaj is a Grihastha and Gargamuni is a Rishi. Therefore, Nanda Maharaj is referring to himself. He is saying, Grihinam, people like me, we are involved in the Griha, in activities of the household. The household affairs are what absorb us day and night. We are day and night involved in earning money, maintaining the house, taking care of the children, family, etc. And for us, Nirunam, Grihinam, those who are engaged in the household affairs, they are Dina Chetasam, the same word which is used in today's verse. Today's verse says, Kripaya Dina Vatsalaha. So these Dina Chetasa, the people who are engaged in household affairs, they are referred to by Nanda Maharaj as Dina Chetasam, those who are poor-hearted. Like it is said here, Dina Vatsalaha, those who are compassionate to those who are poor-hearted. Dina Chetasam, for such people, Nishreyasaya, for their ultimate benefit, for their deliverance. Nishreyasaya. Shreyas means the ultimate benefit. Prayas means, as Prabhupada says, prayas means immediate enjoyment, immediate happiness. Like a child wants to play. But the parents know that if the child does not study, in the future he will have to suffer. Therefore, the parents tell the child, don't play, sit and study. Now for that child, studying is not a very palatable thing. It's not a very enjoyable thing. He wants to play. For him, playing is what gives him enjoyment. At that moment, immediate enjoyment, what it gives him is playing. But that playing, that prayers, will ultimately result in distress for him. And therefore, the parents say, take some tapasya now, take some austerity, take some distress now, so that in the future you will be happy, which is called Shreyas. Short-term benefit is called prayers, long-term benefit is called Shreyas. And so, these great personalities, great sages, for taking compassion upon the Dina Chetasam, for taking compassion of the poor-hearted people who are engaged in household affairs, for their Nishreyasaya, for their ultimate benefit, for their liberation from this cycle of birth and death, Kalpate Nanyata Kvachit. For that purpose alone, Mahad Vichalanam, you great personalities go from place to place. We all know how tourism is a big industry. Some time back, from Maldives, some minister made some adverse comment against India. And then all the people started boycotting Maldives, and they said we will go to Lakshadweep. And so what happened? they made a calculation, the amount of tourism, they became almost half, and that resulted in so many millions of dollars of loss for that country, because Indians were the bulk of tourists to that country. Tourism, people go for tourism, people visit various places. That tendency is there. Either you go to Australia, or you go to Dubai, or you go to Mauritius, you go to Maldives, you go to Lakshadweep. People travel everywhere. And that's why tourism is a big industry. Why do people travel? Just for vacationing, for some leisure, for some pleasure, along with the family or with friends. You go to different places, enjoy for some time and come back. Mahad Vichalanam, great souls, great personalities, rishis and sages, they also travel. Prabhupada also traveled 14 times across the globe. What was Prabhupada? What are these great personalities, sages and saints, what are they traveling for? Prabhupada was not traveling to to go for some sightseeing. Oh, let us go to Switzerland. What are the beautiful places here to see? Let me go to America so that I can go and see the Statue of Liberty, and I can go and see New York City. Prabhupada did not go for all that. Prabhupada had no interest in sightseeing. None of the saintly people have any interest in sightseeing. But still, Mahad Vichalanam, they go from place to place. They visit various places. Why? Because Nishreyasaya, for giving the ultimate benefit to the people. To which people? Grihinam Dina Chetasam, for those poor-hearted souls who know nothing beyond their family and their house. Now, this Dina Chetasam, why are the people who are engaged in household affairs called Dina Chetasam or poor-hearted? Because they have no knowledge about how this world works. How Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that this world is dukkhalayam ashashvatam. You cannot become happy in this material world despite your greatest endeavor. You look at that, in Rajkot they built one big building. For what? With so much, they must have invested crores of rupees in making that building. Entertainment zone. Why? For happiness, for enjoyment. But what was the end result? People died. Lot of distress. This is the nature of this material world. That person, that owner of that entertainment zone, he did not build that, he did not invest all those crores of rupees thinking that let it go up in flames. Does anybody do that? Nobody does that. He built it thinking this will be a place of enjoyment for the people who come. I will also earn money out of that. I will also enjoy. The purpose was to be happy, to enjoy. But what happened finally? Finally, it resulted only in distress. That very building, that very business which was giving happiness to so many people, it became the source of distress for the very same people. That is why Srila Prabhupada quotes one Bengali proverb, which is very, very appropriate. The Bengali proverb says, Sukhera lagiya ghara bandilu. Sukhera lagiya, for the sake of happiness, thinking that this will give me great happiness, ghara bandilu, I built a big house. But what happened? Anale puriya gelu. There was a fire in the house and the house burned down. See, this is an old Bengali proverb which Prabhupada used to quote. And exactly the same thing happened. In Rajkot also, they built a big building thinking that it will be a source of great happiness. What happened? Anale puriya gelu. There was a fire, everything burnt down, burned to ashes. This is the nature of this material world. But still, people are engaged in the same activity. You will see everywhere, everybody is engaged in hard work. They are endeavoring hard, going for a job, going to a college, studying hard, getting a job, then again working hard there. For what? Earning money. And then by that money, they think I can buy a house, I can buy a car, I can buy a mobile, I can buy an iPad, I can have a TV at home, I can take a satellite connection, I can go abroad, I can go for vacationing to all these places. For enjoyment, they are doing all these activities. But ultimately what happens? It ends up only in distress. People don't understand this. People have no knowledge of this. They don't understand that human form of life is not meant simply for engaging in household affairs, in this hard struggle for existence. Human form of life is meant to solve the problems of life once for all. Liberate yourself from the cycle of birth and death and go back to Godhead. That's what human form of life is meant for. And that's where all our endeavor should be. But what do the common mass of people do? They have no idea. They are completely blind to this. And therefore, they are called Dina Chetasam. They are very poor-hearted. They have no knowledge of what should be done with the human form of life. They have got such a valuable form of life where they can understand about God. They can understand about Krishna. What is my relationship with the Supreme Lord Krishna? And we can once for all liberate ourselves from this material world and go back to Godhead where there is no misery. But they fail to understand this. Seeing this, Mahad Vichalanam Nishreyasaya. And here it is said, that is what Nanda Maharaj said. And here again, the same thing is being said by Narada Muni. That Kripaya Deenavatsalaha, the great pure devotees, they are Kripaya, they are greatly compassionate, and Deenavatsalaha, when they see that the people who are engaged ignorantly in wasting the human form of life only in eating, sleeping, mating and defending, improving the material comforts of life, engaged in household affairs of life, when the great saintly people, when the pure devotees see such people, Deenavatsalaha, their hearts become filled with compassion. And being filled with compassion, what do? Do they try to help them by giving them money or trying to give them some job, some engagement? No, they give them knowledge. What kind of knowledge? Here it is said, Jnanam guhyatamam yattat sakshat bhagavatoditam. Sakshat bhagavatoditam jnanam. Sakshat bhagavatoditam guhyatamam jnanam. They give the highest, the most confidential knowledge which is spoken by the Supreme Lord Krishna himself. That knowledge they give to the poor-hearted people. Why? Nishreyasaya, so that they will become liberated. They will be able to use this human form of life and go back to God, go back to Vaikuntha, go back to Goloka Vrindavan, where there is no more repeated birth and death. Now, what is that most confidential knowledge? Guhyatamam. Jnanam guhyatamam. Guhyatamam jnanam. What is the most confidential knowledge? Which is Sakshat Bhagavatoditam, directly spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. What is that knowledge? That is stated by Krishna himself in the Bhagavad Gita in the 18th chapter. Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita in the 18th chapter, Itite jnanam guhyad guhyataram Itite jnanam akyatam guhyad guhyataram maya. Krishna is telling Arjuna, after speaking the entire Bhagavad Gita and the most portion of the 18th chapter, towards the end of the 18th chapter, Krishna tells Arjuna this. He says, Itite akyatam, itite jnanam akyatam. Akyatam means I have spoken. Like this, thus I have spoken akyatam. What have I spoken? Jnanam, knowledge. Krishna spoke about, Krishna gave knowledge to Arjuna. What kind of knowledge? Guhyad guhyataram. Krishna says, I gave maya akyatam, I have spoken knowledge, jnanam, which is guhyad guhyataram, which is the most confidential knowledge. Itite jnanam akyatam guhyad guhyataram maya. And Krishna says, then Krishna said, Vimrisyaita asheshena yatechasi tathakuru. Now please deliberate on the most confidential knowledge which I given you, and you decide what you have to do. This was Krishna's instruction. And then Krishna did not leave it there. Krishna then continued. Krishna said, Sarva guhyatamam bhuyad shinu me paramam vachaha. Bhuyad, once again, shinu, listen to me. Listen to what? Shinu me, sarva guhyatamam shinu me paramam vachaha. Bhuyad. So, my paramam vachaha, my ultimate instruction, and sarva guhyatamam, which is the most confidential of all knowledge, once again I am telling you, you please listen to me. First Krishna said, now I have already spoken, the most confidential knowledge I have given you. Now you please deliberate on it and decide what you have to do. But before you decide, once again, I want to reiterate the most confidential knowledge. It's very important, no? Just like if the teacher in the classroom, he is teaching a very important subject matter. And that subject, the professor knows 100% this question is going to come on this subject in the examination. What he will do, he will teach the entire subject, then he will tell, I'll summarize it once again. Please understand it properly. Before you go, please understand properly. Same way, Krishna is saying, Bhuyad, once again, sarva guhyatamam bhuyad, shrinume paramam vachaha. Once again, listen to the most confidential knowledge, which is paramam vacha, which is my ultimate instruction. I don't have any other instruction to give you beyond this. And why is Krishna repeating his instruction? Ishtosime dhridamiti tato vakshyami te hitam. Te hitam, for your benefit, for your welfare, vakshyami, I am again repeating the same. Guhyatama, most confidential knowledge. Why? Because ishtosime dhridamiti, because you are very, very dear to me. For Krishna, Arjuna is a very dear devotee. Arjuna is a pure devotee of Krishna, and therefore he is very dear to Krishna. And therefore Krishna is saying, I always want your welfare. For your welfare, I am again repeating the most confidential knowledge. What is that most confidential knowledge? Then Krishna says, 65th verse of the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Mame vaishyasi satyam te pratijane priyosime. Krishna says, what is that most confidential knowledge, which is Krishna's ultimate instruction, the most confidential instruction given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself, as it is stated by Narada Muni in today's words, Guhyatamam jnanam sakshat bhagavatoditam, directly spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, the ultimate, the most confidential knowledge. What is that? Man mana bhava mad bhakto. Constantly think of Krishna, don't think of anything else. Bhava mad bhakto, become a devotee of Krishna. Madhyaji, worship Krishna. Mam namaskuru, offer your obeisances to Krishna. This is the ultimate, most confidential knowledge, the ultimate instruction of the Bhagavad Gita. It is not something something which is very esoteric and very difficult, and only great sages who have gone to the forest, only they can practice, or very great jnanis, only they can practice. No, very simple. Constantly think of Krishna. Think of Krishna means what? Chant Hare Krishna. Whenever you have free time, you are driving, you are walking, you are sitting somewhere, you have got some free time. What you do? Sit and chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. What do you need for that? You need one tongue and 2 ears, that's all. Nothing else is needed. Man mana bhava. Constantly think of Krishna, constantly chant Krishna's holy name. Anybody can do, even a small child can do. You don't need to be a jnani, you don't need to be a yogi, you don't need to be a tyagi. No qualification required. Man mana bhava mad bhakto, and become a devotee of Krishna. Becoming a devotee of Krishna is very easy. Whatever you eat at home, you offer to Krishna and eat. Whenever you feel like reading something, read the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad-Bhagavatam. Whenever you feel like going out, go to a temple of Krishna and visit and have darshan there. All simple things. To become a devotee of Krishna also not very difficult. And Mam Namaskuru, offer your obeisance to Krishna. Come to the temple of Krishna, offer your obeisance. What is there? Even a child can also do. Even a woman can do, man can do, young man, old man, illiterate man, dull man, brilliant man. Anybody and everybody can perform this. Such a simple thing it is, but it is the most sublime thing. It is the most confidential thing. Why? Because simply by doing this, one will perfect one's life, one will go back to Godhead, no more coming back to this material world. Although this is the simplest thing, such a simple thing it is. Everybody can follow this, but still nobody is aware of this. Until Prabhupada went to the US and Prabhupada published the Bhagavad Gita as it is, Prabhupada's translation and commentary of the Bhagavad Gita as it is. How many people became devotees of Krishna? How many started offering obeisances to Krishna? How many started offering food to Krishna? Nobody was doing. Bhagavad Gita was already there in the market. Everybody knew about it. Even in the US, all over the world, Bhagavad Gita is famous. There were more than 700 editions of the Bhagavad Gita in the market already when Prabhupada went to the US. But not one person had understood this, that the topmost, most confidential knowledge is to become a devotee of Krishna, to constantly think of him and to offer one's obeisances to him. Therefore, this is called Guhyatamam Jnanam. It is the most confidential knowledge. Why? Because this knowledge is the property of only a pure devotee. As Krishna told Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, he said, Ishtosi me dridamiti. Only one who is very dear to Krishna can know this. Only one who is very dear, one who is a pure devotee like Arjuna can know this. Krishna said the same thing in the Bhagavad Gita. Bhaktya mama vijanati yavan yaschasmi tattvataha. Only by devotion, only by bhakti can one know Krishna. There are so many jnanis who went to the US. They gave big lectures in Chicago, in the United Nations headquarters. They went and gave big lectures. Not one person became a devotee. So many yogis, they went to the US. Transcendental meditation they taught. They taught different kinds of asanas. They made big yoga acharyas out of all the Westerners. Not one person became a devotee of Krishna. Prabhupada, one person, he went and published his books and distributed. Thousands and thousands of people became devotees. Thousands and thousands of people, even today, when they read Prabhupada's books, they are understanding the most confidential knowledge is to simply become a devotee of Krishna. Chant Hare Krishna and come to the temple of Krishna, offer your obeisances in the temple. You are partaking the highest, the most confidential knowledge. We are all beneficiaries of Prabhupada's efforts. If Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita was not there, today, would any of us have become devotee of Krishna? Impossible. We would have been impersonalists or we would have been yogis. Nothing more than this. The world is filled with impersonalists and yogis. But none of them can give this most confidential knowledge that to become a devotee of Krishna is the ultimate. That is the most confidential instruction of the Bhagavad Gita. Nobody can give this. But even though it is most confidential, and even though Krishna said in the Bhagavad Gita that na shraddhaya na tapaskaya, this knowledge, this most confidential knowledge, that to become a devotee of Krishna is the highest purpose of life, it is the highest goal of life. Krishna said this knowledge should not be revealed to anybody who does not have faith in Krishna, or he does not have even a little tapasya, he has no austerities, he has no punya karma. Don't share this knowledge with such people. This was Krishna's instruction. But still, Prabhupada went to the United States. He gave this knowledge to the most fallen people who had no tapasya to their credit, who had no understanding of Krishna, they didn't even know who Krishna was. Where is the question of having faith in him? To such people, Prabhupada went and gave this knowledge. That is because, as Narada Muni is mentioning here, Kripaya Deenavatsalaha. They are, the pure devotees are Deenavatsalaha and Kripaya Purnaha. They are full of, their heart is full of compassion when they see all the living entities struggling hard for existence and making big plans for enjoyment and ultimately suffering. Making big buildings, entertainment zones, and then finally everything going up in flames and people suffering. When the pure devotees see this, their hearts melt with compassion, and therefore they come and give this most confidential knowledge even to the most fallen people who are atapaskas, who have no austerities to their credit, who have no punya karma to their credit. And these pure devotees, when they come and give the knowledge, they don't give their own knowledge. Just like today's fashionable gurus, they advertise themselves as big gurus. And if you go them and ask, what does the Bhagavad Gita say? What does the Ramayana say? He will say, though I don't read books, I have not read any of these books. I am a self-realized person. I don't need to read any books. This is all bogus. This is the hallmark of a bogus man, who is a fake guru, who is a fake sadhu. Why? Because here it is said, Anvavochan Gamishyantaha Sakshat Bhagavatoditam. The pure devotees who really are thinking of the ultimate welfare of all the people, who are knowledgeable people, who can give us the most confidential knowledge, Guhyatamam Jnanam, they are people who will not speak their own knowledge, something concocted by themselves. This is something which I have realized myself. No. Sakshat Bhagavatoditam. Whatever Krishna has spoken, they will repeat that only. They will not give anything new. They will tell, I am giving the oldest thing. Why pure devotees? Even Krishna himself, in the Bhagavad Gita, Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo viduhu. Krishna told Arjuna, I am giving you this knowledge. This is not something new. Don't think it is new. This is the same old knowledge which at the beginning of creation was given to the sun god. That same knowledge I am giving to you. Repeating the same knowledge. Even Krishna does not give anything new. Krishna also gives the old knowledge only. So that's why Prabhupada also published Bhagavad Gita as it is. Prabhupada could have named it new version of Bhagavad Gita. Right? New. Something new about Bhagavad Gita. But no, Prabhupada said Bhagavad Gita as it is. How Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita 5,000 years ago, the same thing I am giving you. Sakshat Bhagavatoditam. This is the hallmark of a true guru, of a true sadhu. He will not concoct anything new. He will only give you what has already been spoken by all the acharyas, by Krishna himself. And therefore, these Bhagavatas, Mahabhagavatas, the pure devotees who had come to the village where Narada Muni, in his previous life, he was a small boy and he was staying. He was the son of a maid servant, not educated, uneducated, simple boy. But he had no qualification other than, like he said in the previous verses, he was not interested in playing and he was not interested in any frivolous activity. He was very sober. That was his only qualification. And whenever possible, he would render some service to the sadhus. A 5-year-old boy, what service can he do? They will tell, pick this up, bring this, take this, wipe this floor. Only such simple tasks a 5-year-old boy can do. That's all he was doing. Whatever they said, he was doing. When they saw this, what happened? The Bhagavatas, Kripaya Deenavatsalaha, out of great compassion, Gamishyantaha, after 4 months they were going away. What did they do? They did not simply go away. So much service the small boy has done for us. We have to think of his ultimate welfare. So what should we do? Gamishyantaha Sakshat Bhagavatoditam Guhyatamam Jnanam Anvavochan. They gave that most confidential knowledge which is spoken by Krishna himself. What is that? Manmana Bhava Madbhakto Madhyajim Amnamaskuru. Always chant Krishna's holy name, become a devotee of Krishna, constantly offer obeisances to him. They instructed him and then they left. This is the hallmark of a true sadhu, of a true guru. He will not concoct anything new. He will give only that knowledge which is originally spoken by Krishna as it is, coming down in the Guru Shishya Parampara, and he will instruct you to become a devotee of Krishna, which is what we see in the life of Prabhupada also, that he is The 32nd in that line of Guru Shishya Parampara stemming from Krishna himself. And Prabhupada never said anything that this is my opinion, according to me it is like this. Prabhupada always referred to the Shastras and to the Acharyas. And Prabhupada said, this is what Krishna says, this is what the Acharyas state, this is what the Vedas state. This is the hallmark of a true Guru, of a true Sadhu. So, therefore, we should take shelter of the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada, follow his instructions strictly, and we can perfect our life and go back to Godhead. If there are any questions or comments, we can discuss. Yes, please, here.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
You mentioned Dina Chetasa, which is translated as poor-hearted.
Sorry?
Dina Chetasa is referred to as pure-hearted. Dina, poor-hearted, right?
Yeah.
And I have also seen this word Chetas in other purports, referred to as mind or intelligence also. So my question is, this Chetas, which we... This Chetas, which also is given in the Sikshamrita, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. So this Chetas is, where does come in this hierarchy of the body-mind system? Like in the we have senses, mind, intelligence and false ego.
Yeah.
Those Chetas, where does this come in this hierarchy? What is
So Cheta refers to the consciousness, it can refer to the mind, it can refer to the heart also. So when we say Dina Chetasa, in one sense you can say they are poor-minded. But mind, why? Because they are absorbed in family affairs. Why are people? Why their minds are absorbed in family affairs? Because their heart is full of anxiety for their existence and their survival and their welfare. So therefore, they are called poor-hearted. Whatever we think, ultimately, it comes from our heart. What attracts our heart is what fills our thoughts, our mind. Our mind is subordinate to our heart. Therefore, when we say Dina Chetasam, it refers to Dina, the poor-hearted people. That's what it means. So, we have to, when it is said Dina Chetasam, we have to understand the spirit in which it is said. So, that's why Prabhupada translates it as poor-hearted people. Okay?
Refer to mind or intelligence.
It
can refer to mind.
It can refer to mind also, it can refer to intelligence also. Or it can refer to the consciousness also, depending on the context. Just like when we say Atma. Atma can refer to the soul. Atma can refer to the super soul, Paramatma. Atma can refer to the body. Atma can refer to the mind also. Now in the context in which that word Atma is used, you have to understand what it refers to. That famous verse in the Bhagavad Gita. Atmanaiva, Atmaiva Ripura Atmanaha. Atma is the enemy of the Atma. And therefore, by the Atma, you have to make the Atma your friend. You have to make the Atma the friend of the Atma. Now, what do you understand by this? Atma is the enemy of the Atma. So, there Prabhupada translates and explains. Prabhupada quotes from the Puranas also, and Prabhupada explains. Atmaiva Ripura Atmanaha. When it says, it means the mind, Atmaiva is referring to the mind. Mind is the Atmanaha of the soul. So there the word Atma is used in multiple this one. So the mind is the enemy of the soul also, mind is the friend of the soul also. And Krishna is saying an uncontrolled mind is the enemy of the soul. So the word Atma, Atmaiva, when it says it is referring to the mind, Atmanaha is referring to the soul. The same word. So, according to the context, we have to understand the meaning. That's why we need the explanations of pure devotees, acharyas, in order to be able to understand the true import of the Vedic scriptures. Okay? Anybody else? We'll stop here. Grantharaj Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.